More good news today makes even clearer that we can now afford to change tack. We must be tougher, of course, on doing the things that work, but we can soon ease up, I believe, on the restrictions that rob us of our future and will make life now unbearable for millions of Australians. They are restrictions that have now placed millions of Australians into something approaching house arrest. And for some who are living alone, it's solitary confinement. I'm not dismissing the danger of this virus. Spain had more than 700 deaths just yesterday alone. The United States, its expert there, warns of many more deaths.
I've never seen a model of the diseases that I've dealt with, which the worst case scenario actually came out. They always overshoot. Looking at what we're seeing now, you know, I would say between 100 and 200,000 cases, but I don't want to be held to that.
And at home, 2 more Australians have died of coronavirus, both women in their 80s, which brings the total deaths so far here to 18. For just 18, when we had predictions of 50,000 to 150,000 deaths, or even more. I'll come back to that. But in the latest move to stop the spread of the virus, New South Wales, Queensland, Tasmania, Victoria, they're banning you from going outside with more than one other person, not of your family, or going out much at all.
Victoria has moved to stage 3, and that involves a ban with an on-the-spot fine of more than $1,600. There are 4 reasons to leave your home: to get medical care, to go to work, for your daily exercise, and to go and buy the things you need when you need them.
Now, we're told that bans like this and bans on pubs and restaurants and public gatherings, playing sport with friends, even sitting on city beaches, needless travel, they'll probably last 6 months or more. And that's going to come at an enormous social cost. Now, you say you've just lost your job and your savings, and now you can't go outside either or have more than one friend come. This is going to cause unbelievable depression and debt and, let's be honest, suicide, if we keep fighting the virus this way. In fact, it seems states like Victoria in particular want even more businesses now to shut down. Shopping centres, banks, many retailers. They'll be discussing that in the National Cabinet tonight. The economic wreckage, the lost jobs, is going to be devastating, no matter how much money we're going to throw at this from government. And I don't think if we get much more of this, this economy will be bouncing back at the end of it, as we're told, once the virus finally passes. We'll be financially crippled. That is why it is now really important to tell you the good news. News that suggests we're getting close to the point where we can and we should change direction. The good news. First, the spread of this virus is slowing very fast. Until last week, we were getting huge rises in new cases every day, 25%, even 35%. Well, last week, as I was telling you, that fell. And over the past 24 hours to 6 a.m. this morning, it dropped again to just 7%. Now, that's still too high, and the flu season is still coming. But this is a big signal that some things we're doing are starting to work. And that means that last week's reckless scare that we're about to run out of intensive care beds in just 5 days from now already looks completely over the top. So far, we have fewer than 60 people in intensive care. But we've already got 2,000 beds, and we're tripling that. In fact, just today, Victoria posted more people recovering from the virus than getting it over the past 24 hours. 55 recovered, 52 contracted the disease. So don't panic about the idea that there won't be machines to save you if you get sick. And then there's our death toll. As I said, just 18 dead, which was not at all what was expected. Give you an interesting comparison. It is now 22 days since we tragically lost our first victim to this virus. In the 22 days from when Italy suffered its first death, more than 14,000 Italians died, but in the 22 days here, just 18. We are not Italy. Our health system is better. We're on average 10 years younger. This disease hits the old most. We smoke 1/3 less, and we're much less likely to have the elderly living at home getting infected from the young ones, because the elderly are overwhelmingly most likely to die. I know this virus can kill even children, has a couple of instances overseas, but every one of our dead has been 68 or much older in their 90s. Many were already sick, even dying of things like cancer already. And all this confirms we're getting to the point where we must change how we fight this virus, because not changing will also cause huge suffering. Now, as I said last week, before we switch, we must first be tougher in quarantining the infectious and tougher in protecting those most likely to die. That's anyone over 70 or with a serious illness. And we are slowly getting there. Last week, the government finally forced everyone returning from overseas to go into compulsory quarantine in hotels guarded by the army. Now it should take every infected person who's at home into quarantine as well. And it should even do more to protect the vulnerable. Now maybe there's a change coming on that front too, because here's the Deputy Chief Medical Officer today.
People that are elderly or those with chronic diseases should stay at home as much as possible. So on that one, I really want to stress today that this is another opportunity for Australians to show our true colours in relation to working together as a community. This is a time for you that have elderly relatives, and I would include myself in that, to ask what is it they need. What are the things that are going to impact their lives with these new restrictions, particularly around shopping, particularly around, for example, picking up scripts for their medications?
But I think that's work that the government must now be stepping into as well. We need, as I keep saying, we need a massive government Meals on Wheels effort to help the elderly to stay at home until this blows over, to help them with their shopping and their supplies and their medical needs and everything, so they don't need to go out. And then the rest of us can get back to work and start to pay back this colossal debt we're now racking up to save us.